All right. Hey, welcome back to the show, guys. Welcome back to Talkin Spice.
Thank you.
I forgot an episode before to call you the Podfather because remember you mentioned that first season. That was really funny.
Podfather.
I am
Well,
the
so by
Podfather.
deze, Graham is the Podfather.
The Podfather.
Yes. I'll make you a podcast you can't refuse. Not to go too left with all the jokes, but we do want to talk about something a little bit serious, and it's just something that has been filling my feed a lot, like the last few weeks, and I think it's definitely something worth talking about.
Yeah, it's also something that I've noticed it's more prominent on social media as well.
Yeah, for real. So we want to talk about suicide, and more specifically, suicide among men. So before we get into the meat and the thick of it, here in the Netherlands, if you suffer from suicidal tendencies, or you have dark thoughts, or you're suffering from depression, and you can't really figure it out, please call 122 or 113 or 0800 0113. Right? That's the zelfmoordpreventielijn and help desks here in Holland.
Yeah. Those are 3 different numbers, right?
I'm trying based on what I'm reading here, I think so, but I'm not sure. I never called myself. Oh, there's also the Luisterlijn is 088 07 67 000. Right? So if you are someone who's struggling with these things, contact. There are helplines, there are help desks, there are counselors all ready and willing to help you. Let's not suffer in silence necessarily.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing that struck me the most is the fact that there are twice as many deaths by suicide for men as there are for women. And we've been talking a lot about mental health among men. And the reason we talk about mental health about men specifically is because, we can't really speak for women. So we just chose that as a focus to lead the podcast in. But mental health among men is then also connected to suicide rates among men. Because men die from suicide twice as much as women do. And that number just kind of shocked me a little bit, that it's at the least twice as much. In some cases, it's more than twice.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
A whole lot.
Yep.
So that's pretty crazy. And it's also not necessarily a decreasing number year over year. It's you can consistently count on those ratios. And I don't know, that kind of just, I took aback from it. I was like, damn, that's a lot more dudes in comparison to women. You would think it would be like an even spread. I don't know why I thought that first, but I thought it was just like an even thing.
Yeah?
Yeah. But one thing is important to note is that I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on this, is a lot of articles and research, they mention the fact that men are more successful in committing suicide also. So maybe that also has something to do with it. The means and measures that men take to try to take their life are more extreme. They're more absolute.
Yeah.
So that might have something to do with it. I don't know what the attempted suicide numbers are.
Yeah.
Because it's some pretty dark shit. So I'm going to try to do my research and I get fucking sad reading all this shit. So I didn't go too deep into it. So apologies if I'm not getting all the data exactly right. But what it does come down to is that factually twice as many men kill themselves as women do.
Yep.
And that has most likely a lot to do with mental health, something that we've been talking about pretty passionately the past few episodes. Have you guys have experience with people in your life who committed suicide?
Not directly, but I do have a handful of friends who someone really close to them, be it a good friend of theirs or a family member of theirs, that have committed suicide. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, not directly either, but I have a really close friend of mine that has dealt with it. So I've semi-experienced what it feels like to lose someone that close to you.
You experienced it by association.
Yeah. I didn't want to use the words vicariously, but through association, I experienced it. Yeah. So,
do you guys remember growing up in Curacao when we were younger that there were kids like from the school who also committed suicide?
I vaguely remember like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, not to the school I went to personally, but other schools. Yeah, you read stories via that that person committed suicide. So yeah. What about you?
I personally have lost, in ieder geval, one really close friend to it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys know him too. I'm not gonna mention his name necessarily.
Yeah.
But again, yeah, growing up at Rodolphus, there was also a few times that it happened, and you hear stories from other schools as well.
Yeah.
And then there's always the thought of like someone died and it was not really clear, and you always wonder, was it?
Yeah.
Was
what
it
was
that?
the reasoning? Yeah.
For example, me, you, Chris, growing up with dad's best friend.
Yeah.
It always lingered in my mind from was that suicide or not?
Yeah.
And saying the word suicide over and over just kind of feels really, really weird. Is there is like easier way to say this shit?
Taking your life, ending it.
Taking your own life. I mean,
Okay, because every time I said like it, just repeating it over and over, starting to get a little bit sour in my mouth. So
Yeah.
okay, but I digress. When looking at the data, that is twice as much as women. We could assume is because that the opportunities to deal with that issue are not used as much by men as by women. Because what it came down to is that there are a few factors that determine that. From what I could read, again, don't fucking quote me on it. Do your own fucking research. But it seemed like as a result of divorce, men usually suffer more from divorce than women do. Detachment from their children, being closed out from their social groups, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of suicides for assumed financial reasons. For example, men who instantly crash financially and then lose it all.
Yeah.
And that makes sense though, because if you look, like again, the classic view of a man, he's the provider for the family. He's the one in control, so he has to have this career so he can, how do you say, provide for his family and stuff like that. And if it gets to a point where he has a family and he loses all of that, yeah, he's like, okay, I can understand how you feel very lost and yeah, powerless, because everything you've worked for so hard is gone.
Yeah.
And if you can't find a way or see at least a light at the end of the tunnel, it can be very daunting. Yeah. And yeah, if you don't have anyone to talk to, or you feel like you can't because you feel like as a man you can't talk about your feelings or whatnot, it will take a toll on you and start working on you mentally. But even worse, it'll start working on you spiritually, like on your soul. It's not just mental at a certain point anymore. It really does start, for lack of a better way of saying, work on your soul, because nothing will fix it.
It kind of comes back full circle with what we're talking about on mental health for the other episodes. And that was also the biggest factor that you can kind of connect with most suicides among men, is that men suffer just from mental health. Or have just mental emotional struggles, which cascades into eventually wanting to end your life.
Yeah. It's also more accepted.
Maybe this is going to be a little bit extreme, but have y'all ever had suicidal thoughts or tendencies?
No, me personally, no, not really, no. Of course, you've been down in the dumps, but I've never even crossed that threshold. Even start thinking about it.
Have you ever even entertained the thought
No,
at any point? Okay.
No, because I'm too afraid of what if you start entertaining the thoughts. What if you can't step out of that thought? You can't step out of the thought process, and who knows, bit by bit, you start going that point until you reach that point and you actually do it. And the thing is, for me, I think it's it doesn't only affect yourself. It doesn't affect yourself. You affect the people around you. There's a whole village, a whole community, support community, just people around you that really care about you. Even if you don't think that's the way, I guarantee you there's someone out there that cares about you, right? So it also affects them on a really deep level. So I don't think, I've never gotten to that point. I always think that there is a way somewhere, somehow, that I can figure it out and I can get out of this. I can I try to talk to someone, or just, I don't know. You have, like you just said at the beginning, of those the helplines you can call, and I always just thought of, well, how does it also affect the people around me, and would it be fair for them? So I can honestly say.
Even in your deepest, darkest moments, it's never been
Fortunately, I've never
Thank Jesus.
gotten that far. Yeah.
Praise the Lord.
Have you?
Fuck no. For myself, no. Like I y'all know me. I love life too much. Everything is hunky dory. You give me a donut, I'm happy. Like even in my deepest, darkest moments. Nah, like what Graham said also. I can not to make light of the situation, but I deal with difficult things with humor. That's my coping mechanism. Mom will fucking find a way to resurrect me and beat my ass. Yeah. So, like what you said, the damage you leave behind.
Yeah,
I think even just the tip of that iceberg is too much. Which
crazy.
I don't think personally. I don't think I'll ever get to that point. I don't think it's in me to want those things. Like, yeah. Even if I think about my life in my lowest moment. And I make that twice as bad, and I remove twice as much of the joy out of it. Then I don't think like, the least I can do is become a fucking soldier and go serve my country, or be like, hey, y'all need someone to go down to the fucking Mariana Trench in a dangerous mission. Sign me up. It's not suicide, but then if my life has that little meaning to me, it still has meaning to someone else.
Yeah.
How about you, Chris?
Yeah, that's an interesting way of seeing it, because a lot of times in that point, especially if we're talking about suicide, they're not thinking about everyone else. From what I understand, because this is a topic that, like me, again, I want to study to become a psychologist, because I love understanding how and why people work. So, yeah, that wasn't in the cards for me, but that didn't take away that I still like to do research about it and hear people talk about their accounts of suicide and so on. And a lot of times, it has nothing to do with the people around them. A lot of times, it's just they feel that there's literally nothing they can do to fix their situation. And because of that, they're already a burden on themselves and the people around them. So that's why they feel the only way to alleviate them and the people around them from the burden of having them around is to take away their life.
But that sounds to me like a product of a culture of poor mental health. Because then you're left to assume that you're a burden instead of taught that you can never be a burden.
Not true, but again, it has nothing to do with the people around him actually thinking that this person is a burden. It's more that this person...
For sure. Yeah. I mean more, if your environment doesn't stimulate the right things, you're left to conclude on the wrong things.
Of course.
Again, it all comes back to we live in a society of poor mental health in general. I think I personally feel a little bit more poor mental health towards men.
Most definitely.
Because it's unfortunately, nowadays, it's easier for a woman to be vulnerable and talk
than a man.
Even though it's equally easy to get help from both people, it just seems like it's more difficult for men, even though it shouldn't be. There's no reason why it should be. It's just we created that stigma ourselves, or we attach connotations of machismo or whatever the fuck to our own identity.
Yeah, because that's why I feel the whole real man, be a man thing can be very dangerous, because that's where a lot of, especially for men, that's where a lot of the pressure comes from. Like, I'm not good enough to be a real man, and that's where a lot of the pressure comes in, where they're like, they don't feel like they're worthy enough. And if a person doesn't feel worthy enough and they cannot see a way to become that, then at a certain point they feel like, what's the point?
Yeah, I think maybe that's the. I have no idea what thoughts go in your head at that moment, but like, what's the point? Sounds like one of those easy, encroaching, poisonous thoughts that can maybe get out of hand real quick.
No, most definitely, but that's in a, how do you say it? A not nice way to say it. A suicide is a simple way of handling your problem, and
easy way out.
And by that I mean, for you, because we don't know what happens in the afterlife. Once that's done, you're out of the picture as far as that goes. So whatever was troubling you, you're not dealing with it anymore. But the repercussions of that is all the people around you are left with everything that you left behind.
Yeah. But what do you guys then say to someone who has suicidal thoughts, who's tried every possible way of fixing it that they think they could, But at the end, like it seems like it's not gonna work out for them. They just feel like, okay, this is my only option. They've tried everything. They've tried talking to people, seeking out help, blah 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 blah. But for some reason, they just don't see it happening. It doesn't click for them. It doesn't fit, and they still think, okay, this is my only way out.
I think personally, and I can say this with a lot of love behind it, you most likely have not even come close to trying everything.
That
most likely, like there are things and places and feelings and smells that, like I don't think people, to be put it gently, you don't have the right to say that because it's like if you've seen every mountain peak, if you swim in every ocean, if you loved every race, if you eaten every food, and then you say like I tried everything, then be like probably still not, but I get what you're trying to say.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So for those people, I think it's the feeling of I've tried up all my options, but most likely you just haven't tried it all. I can't believe I can't think of any situation in a whole lifetime where you can say like I don't have any other options because there's always another option, always another person to talk to.
Yeah,
there's
but
almost 8 billion souls on this planet. You tell me you thought.
Yeah, but you don't have access to 8 billion souls to talk
Yeah,
to.
but
Again, that's assuming your scope of your own existence is what it is.
Yeah, but that aside, you're also talking from your experience because you've never experienced something like
For
that.
sure.
So, yeah.
Again,
of
I'm saying this as a very naive and unexperienced person with the subject. I'm very, very uneducated in it as well. I think it's also that's why it's difficult to talk about. But I'd rather be uneducated and try to learn instead of uneducated and be all like, hey, it's a taboo topic. Let's fucking not talk about this shit.
Yeah.
But as just not only like when it comes to suicide, but everything in life, you haven't tried it all. There's like you don't have the right to say what your life encompasses because it's not just yours. But then again, seeing you me people who, for example, I think a different story for someone who is suffering from a severe disease or the quality of their life is so low that they feel like it's more suffering than living, that they're more dead than alive. In that case, I can definitely respect those feelings.
Would you consider euthanizing also suicide?
At the end of the day, like it's a choice to end your own life.
Yeah. So
But
I guess,
I guess so. I don't know if there's a specific difference in those terms, but
I mean, for example, like a chef I used to work with, he was diagnosed with cancer, and they only gave him like 3 months or whatnot. But even before that, his body started deteriorating a lot. And he chose, in here in the Netherlands, it's still legal to do. So he chose to do that. So before the day that he was going to do that, we went in with the whole kitchen crew. We went to go see him at the hospice. We watched a football game because he's a big Ajax fan. He wanted to eat kapsalon. We got kapsalon for him, and it was a really great time. And 2 days after, it was his day, and then he went out on his own terms.
I respect that too.
Yeah.
I think at that point is you're making a judgment call on your own quality of life, and you have the right to decide. I think everyone has the right to decide.
of course, it's
I just think it's a lot of decisions are misguided when it comes to not in that situation, but young kids, people who feel like that's their only option. I'm always going to assume that it's not. There has to be another way. There has to be like fucking move to Tibet and go live in the mountains for a year first and then tell me how you feel. Like, come on, there has to be another way.
Yeah, but that's a lot easier said than done, right?
Exactly,
So
but the problem is that it's easier said than done.
Yeah, but
there should be more options out there to those people. Like, let's say if I become a fucking millionaire, I'll start a foundation and be all like, oh, yes, so that thoughts. We're gonna take your ass to Disney World for a week, then we're gonna go to climb fucking Machu Picchu, and then we're gonna go fucking swim with dolphins, and then you get to decide what you want to do.
because that being said as well, if you want to talk about suicide, like suicide is very prominent in like Asian men culture as well. Like Japan has a whole forest dedicated to it. I think in South Korea right now it's also skyrocketing. So
Crazy.
So that's also built part of the culture. From what I understand, it's a lot of them, like the skyscrapers. They're with like quadruple plated glass because guys used to jump. They couldn't handle it anymore, and they would break the window and jump through the glass. And I'm like, if you're already pushed to that point.
If if you're a fucking architect and instead of making beautiful art in buildings, you have to consider in which ways people can kill themselves, then society is not on your side.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That's
But how often do you guys think about your own mortality?
Very often. Very often.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Graham?
Not that often. I find myself thinking more about my parents and the loved ones around me, their mortality, and not my own. Yeah, I guess.
What do you mean with that exactly?
Because well, I'm still lucky to have both my parents are still alive, right? And the day's gonna come, right? Whether I want to or not, the day's gonna come that they're not gonna be here anymore. And it's just something that I just now that I'm a bit older and they're a bit older as well, it's just something I just think about a lot. It's a day that I'm not ready for, and it's the day that
most likely will never be ready for.
No, right? And it's just something I think about. I don't know. I just try to spend more time with them and just talk to them more, and I just find myself thinking about the people around me more than I do myself. Because I guess for myself, I know I'm also mortal, I'm gonna die, blah blah. But I guess I'm still semi young. I'm 30, but I'm still semi young. So it hasn't dawned on me yet, right? So I guess that's why I just focus more on the people around me instead of my own mortality.
Is it a little bit of fear of thinking about your own mortality? Is it too much of a scary thought?
No. I think because you also used to say that. I always used to say that once I reach 80, it's whatever. You can take me out, right? Of course. Yeah.
I still say that shit.
Yeah.
Reem turned 80, grab the shotgun.
Yeah.
You can take me out. I'm done, right? I've lived a life. But I do, to be honest, I do think the closer you get to that 80, the more fear starts to creep in, the more doubt starts to creep in. Like, oh shit, am I really ready to go out now? Am I really lived a full life? I've done everything I want to done. Have I, loved everyone I want to love, blah, blah. So, but it goes back to a thing because I'm still a bit young right now. I don't really think about that as much for myself. And I guess I do think about it more for the older people around me, let's say.
I feel you.
Yeah. Do you guys ever think about death? Not just death as the word, but death for yourself and death of the people around you. Do you guys ever think about that?
Isn't that exactly what we're talking about?
Yeah.
Is that exactly okay?
Yeah. So what
do you think we're talking about?
No, because mortality is for me is different than death, because death is mortality is how to keep yourself alive, and death is literally how you feel about what happens after.
In this case, we're talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah. So when we say talking about your mortality is the moment you die, how you live up towards that after you die. So it's all encompassing. So we're technically talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like me and Jake, we've actually had very long conversations about this, and me and him, we see on two different sides. Like for me, if it's my time to go, it's my time to go, done. Whereas for him, if he could have the choice to hypothetically live forever, he would.
Oh wow.
So like for us, we see two completely different sides, and we love having conversations about that. And I also want to I understand his part of it, because he's like, yeah, humanity is so interesting. I can't wait to see what happened, what we're able to come up with in 30, 40, 100 years.
Yeah.
Where for me, I'm like, hey, my time is here. I've done whatever I quote unquote purpose, and I'm good.
Yeah, but I think most likely you guys agree more than you disagree. It's just like if you had the choice, because you're saying like if fate decides this is my time, then you're accepting it. But if fate says, hey, you have a choice, then it's something else. That and that's what Jake is saying. So you guys probably agree more on the topic than you think.
No, more
because would you say like I absolutely do not want to live to be 100?
Yeah, I don't want to live to be 100.
Okay.
No. I don't. Again, I don't want to see my great grandchildren, because then I would, for me,
fuck those kids.
more in the sense that I lived too long. I've seen too much. Yes, in for me personally, in that lifetime, if I was the only one compared to the rest, I would have loved and have so many relationships, but then they would also like fade away because they've died, and I'm the only one to stay.
And that's like one of the key things with people who say, I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson has a really great little speech about it. If you could live forever, most people would say yes, but then you will most likely die on the inside of sadness from all the loved ones you have to lose.
Yeah,
because then you're gonna love your parents, lose your parents, love your soulmate, lose your soulmate, love your kids, lose your kids, love your so it's like you have to be a very, I think, specific kind of person to be able to deal with living forever.
Yeah.
For me, the main thing is that if age, the degradation of my body was an issue with age, I would say, let's go for 140. There's enough time to be able to make it interesting and be all like, you know what, 140 is Gucci. But my biggest fear is becoming a less than capable old person.
Yeah, I get it. What you mean.
So that's why I work out and try to eat healthy. Like, not that healthy, but my intention is to be like, I want to be 80 and be able to get up on my own and wipe my own ass and take care of myself. Yeah. That to me, that's the finite mortality for me. I cannot stand the idea of having someone needing to wash me. At that point, then I will feel like a burden to myself and to them. I want to put my kids through that shit. Like, I don't want to pay anyone to do it. I don't know. There's no grace in that for me. So if I get to that point that you say, like, when I'm 80, take me out. For me, like, as soon as I can wipe my own ass, take me the fuck out.
Now that being said, to revert back to what we started with, if you were in that position right now, would you consider suicide?
Which is funny you mentioned that. Apparently, the suicide rates among men are highest in the 65 to 70 plus. More elderly men take their lives than younger men do.
Oh, really?
Apparently, from the research. Again, don't fucking quote me.
I thought you'd be chilling at that age. I'd be chilling, bro. Enjoy the rest of my years and then I'm gone.
I'm really curious to find out why. You can make some assumptions, maybe. Like, if I'm 80 and Fleur passed, like, life without Fleur is garbage anyway, so fucking, I can understand. Like, you know what? It's been a nice ride. Yeah. Let's go meet baby in heaven, you know? Yeah. So I could maybe that has something to do with it. And maybe towards the end of your life, the realization of all the things you haven't achieved or you haven't done, like, it becomes too much to handle. You're already frail and vulnerable, and then a creep sets in, like, oh well, your brother is this kind of person at the age of 80, and you're this. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe those are all the factors that can kind of creep in and make older guys say, like, hey, I've lived long enough and life is shit. Fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah. But even in that, you also have, like, I guess for a lack of a better way of saying it, different levels of it as well. Because you have the people that start thinking like, okay, you know what? I'm in a really dark place right now. I got to do something now to save myself. And then they have that aha moment and they were suicidal and they get out of it. And you have the other people that just don't have that at all. And the thing about that is, from my personal opinion is, if a person is really, really suicidal, doesn't matter how much therapy they get, doesn't matter who is around them, doesn't matter how many drugs there are around them, doesn't matter how happy he's or she is making herself perceived to be. If they want to take their lives, there's nothing you can do to stop it. That's why you have anyone who that's why you have suicide, because people are like, no, I'm not gonna deal with this anymore, regardless of what people want. That's why you have people in the media, for example, Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington, rock stars, legends. As far as everyone around them knew, happy as can be. And then they took their lives. Close friends of ours that were getting help, they still found a way to get what I hope they thought was their peace.
Yeah, I don't know. I understand what you're saying, but I can't agree with that.
That's fine.
Purely for the fact that I don't think enough, even close to enough, has been done when it comes to society, mental health, care, mindfulness, that we can make the judgment call. I let's say in the entire existence of humanity, what we can achieve with creating good mental health and a healthy society for all those dark thoughts and therapy and all this shit, we haven't even scratched the surface yet. We're like 1% of what can be done. I mean, we're in the 21st century now. Like, in the 18th century, 19th century, no one gave a shit about your mental health. It wasn't a thing. We've barely been doing it for 100 years. You know what I'm saying? So I don't believe the premise of there's nothing you can do. Because in every, like, we're not there yet. Like, we don't have the right to say that. We haven't even tried hard enough yet.
Or let me
put it this way. If every single man in your life tries to protect your mental health and tries to work at it and does the indirect and direct things to make sure that there's no reason to have suicidal thoughts, the chances that you will not have it is much higher than what it is now. Because people don't talk about it at all.
No, I definitely.
And better still, if you do talk about it, even when we were growing up, like people kind of like push back, like, whoa, I want to talk about this shit. You know what I'm saying?
No, I definitely agree with what you're saying. But all I'm saying is that regardless of that, if that person does not feel that whatever it is not working, and they still feel that that's what they want to do, the only way you can prevent them from committing suicide is to tie them down. Because if they really want to take their lives, there's nothing you can do to stop it. People forget how vulnerable the human body is and how easy it is to take your own life. So I'm not saying that there's nothing we can do to prepare to help a person to get to the right place. All I'm saying is that if a person has their mind honestly 100% set on that, you can try as much as you can to save them, but if they make that decision to take their own life, there's nothing you can do about it. Because for example, these rock stars as well, I think it was Chris Cornell, he hung himself in the shower while he was on vacation with his family. So
yeah, so and I agree with your point.
I could be wrong on that, by the way.
If the person has reached their own ultimatum, their own absolution,
yeah.
That's something else than saying there's nothing you can do to prevent someone from getting to that point. I think there is not even near enough being done to help people to not reach that absolution, not reach that ultimate
I
point.
Agree. I agree.
So that's my point. Because let's say Chester Bennington, with his fan base and the capital he has and the network he has, like, nowhere near enough people tried to help because they had the chance to. They didn't know about it. Either not knowing is the problem, or knowing and not doing is the problem.
No, I definitely understand what you're saying, but if we're going to talk about that situation, this wasn't the first time he tried to commit suicide. It was multiple times. So his family and his wife and everyone around him, his bandmates, were also on high alert because this is not the first time he's.
And I agree, but I see what you're going with that. But in my head is, even then, there's still more you can do. Let's say, extreme situation.
I guess
every single fan he had came to him and hugged him and told him, "This is what you mean to me." The odds of him not getting to that absolution is higher. So, that's all I'm saying. It's really hard to say that someone can make that definitive decision because you just haven't tried everything. They're like, we don't even have a culture and society where you're protected from your own thoughts, where you can feel safe having dark thoughts, or where you can get help. Going to therapy is still a taboo.
Mm-hmm. You feel?
For most people, it is. For the average person, going to therapy or saying, "Yeah, I go to therapy," it could be easy. It could be a connotation of, "Oh, there's something wrong with this guy."
Yeah.
Even though there's even therapy now to just like fucking just double check everything is good.
Yeah. I mean, I think here in the Netherlands, maybe in Europe, it's more accepted.
Yeah, but
I know like on the islands, it's still very taboo.
I think in general,
definitely.
Like, let's assume most people could use, like, 51% at the minimum of all people could use therapy. That by definition means that most people aren't taking it. Mm-hmm. So it's still an odd thing to do. It's still quote unquote taboo.
Yeah.
So our society isn't even like built. Our culture isn't built to deal with it. So to say that someone can conclude like, well, I guess I can make this definitive decision about my life.
But you can, right, with those limited resources. Cause
for sure. Yeah. So that's my point. It's either a question of not knowing or knowing and not doing. Because if you don't, if people around you don't know that you're suffering, it's hard for them to do something about it. So we have to create a culture or society where it's easy to know. Yeah. It's easy to figure those things out and not let it come out of left field and surprise. Like, what, that guy killed himself?
Yeah.
Yep.
Who done? They always hear that shit. He was such a jolly guy and everything. Mm-hmm. So then the not knowing is a problem, or knowing and not doing. For example, if you say that Chester Bennington tried to kill himself multiple times, it's about then you know, but you don't have the right resources and tools to actively deal with it. It's like, I think I'm doing what I got to do.
Yeah.
That's what I had, for example, with my buddy who killed himself. Not going to mention his name, but because he attempted it once too.
Yeah.
So then we were all on high alert. We're like, oh damn.
Yep.
But then, as a unexperienced person, a naive person, you see, oh, he seems to be doing better. I think we're good. We're in the clear. Oh, he's getting help.
We're out of the woods, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so you let your guard down, and of course, you're always going to put more focus on your own life.
Yeah.
And
because you can't babysit every single person in the world either.
And I honestly have a lot of regret about it. Like I always say, because we were working on a project together, like a really fun project, and you could tell that he was getting sparked, and he was working on it more than I was. He wrote down a bunch of shit. He made drawings and everything. So I'm like, this guy's good.
Yeah,
we're out of the woods. And then before you knew it, he killed himself.
Yeah.
So then you're like, I thought we were past that point. But so that means I didn't have the tools and resources or the cultural upbringing to not let my guard down at that moment, or to still be all like, no, it's only after 4 years that I can let my guard down, or only once I see those and those triggers, then I can let my guard down. I just didn't fucking know. Yeah. Now I have to live with that. But
do you feel that then that it's partially your fault as well?
No, I know it has nothing. Him wanting to end his own life has nothing to do with me, but I think all of us around him could have done more to save him from getting to that point. I truly believe that, because I didn't even do close enough to my best. But yeah, hindsight is 20/20.
Yeah,
and we there were a lot of different choices that could have been made, and maybe the conclusion would have been the same. But I just hate not having tried.
Yeah,
and just accepting things as it is. Because again, in my head, there's always something you can do. There's always another step to be taken. There's always another way to look at it. We're one mind in a pool of billions. Like, I don't have to even feel like I have the rights to assume that my conclusions are correct.
Yeah, but isn't that also kind of like a maddening way of thinking? There's always like something happened and it was something that's very tough, but then you're always thinking, oh, I could have done this, I could have done this, I could have done this. Isn't that like a spiral as well?
Not for me. For me, it's just accepting. Like, I accept that there's different things that I could have done and I didn't, and I let it become a lesson for the next time. I know now for sure that I'll never handle that situation as poorly, unfortunately, as I did then with the next situation.
Yeah.
Because I've learned from it. Because I've considered, again, hindsight's 20/20, what else I could have done. And I'm trying to educate myself more on it. I'm trying to be more aware of things. I'm trying to realize that fucking twice as many men kill themselves as women. I think it was like a number like 1 in every so many fucking men. So in my head, I'm going to go, how many men do I know? 60? What, 3 in 60? I got to, look, I
got to find those 3.
Exactly. So I'm trying to educate myself so I can not be naive about it, ignorant. Because, man, losing people is absolute. Like, once they're gone, they're gone. You can't do shit. There's no answers anymore left. And, like, for example, I told you this before, too. I've told you a long time ago that I really want you to work on your health because I have a picture of my future that I want you to be a part of. And, like, I'm selfish about it. Be like, I got to protect that picture. I want my kids to have Uncle Chris. I want them to, like, jump up on you. You go to fucking trips and shit. They can babysit. But that's not going to happen if you die at age of 40, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really conscious about what the things I want in life. So I'm going to do what I got to do to try and make that happen. If that means protecting you or like helping you do whatever you got to do. Same also with mental health. I need you to be Uncle Chris at 40, but then happy Uncle Chris. I don't want depressed ass Uncle Chris. Be like, oh, well, Uncle Chris is, he's sad again. Be like, shit.
On the bottle.
So I feel not a responsibility, but that's part of my eternal happiness to make sure that people around me are what they need to be so we can all thrive in society. It sounds super selfish when I mention it that way. And now that I'm hearing it, but
it's for a good cause.
It's for a good cause.
But that's one thing I'm curious about. Do I always seem like a jolly guy as well? Because that's something that I hear often from other people as well.
Not to me.
I don't seem jolly?
Yeah, sometimes, but not all the time. Yeah. Like I've
yeah, but you and I grew up together as well.
I can see through, same as with you and me, you can see through my shit a lot easier.
Yeah.
So now, to me, most of the time you are jolly, but I do also notice here and there when you're not jolly. But overall, I would say, 97% of the time you seem jolly to me.
Yeah.
Those 3%.
I mean, that's also something, because I generally am a pretty jolly person. I try to stay as positive as possible, regardless of life and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's also apparently one of the reasons people like having me around.
Some jolly people.
I'm a ball.
You're an emotional support person.
Yeah, this is true. This is
Emotional
definitely
squeezeball.
true, and I enjoy being that as well.
So no, but yeah, jolly people. They're good to have around, right? It's
No, but circling back to what Daryl asked before, I wouldn't say suicidal, but I have had dark thoughts. Have had how did you say it? Cater the thought in something.
Entertain
the thought. Yeah.
You're welcome. Be 5
Entertain
euros.
the thought, Chris. Think about catering the
Yeah.
thought. Like,
Yeah, like-
putting a nice spread.
I-
we have some salmon. We have some scones. I'm gonna cater the thought.
Some amuse bouche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, there's
No, I have had periods where I've entertained the thought. Yeah.
Have you been able to grow past that though?
Yeah, most definitely.
Is it something you still struggle with? Because
No.
now we're gonna end this episode right now and start hugging you.
No. Okay, yeah, okay. So let me explain myself. That's also partially why I wanted to ask you guys these questions and stuff like that as well. See, Abu is already sad. See what you guys do? No, but again, one thing that's very important for me to do for myself is self-reflect, because the only person that should know me better is myself. So whenever I do have anything like that, I always ask myself why, and because of that, I'm able to have more control, I guess, or understanding. And yeah, because of how I've handled it, I also feel more confident and stronger, powerful against those kinds of thoughts.
It helped you grow.
Yeah, exactly. Most definitely.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
As long as the relationship you have now, of course, all of us, with our mortality and with death is a healthy relationship,
Yeah.
then we're all good.
Yeah. And personally, I wasn't really sure if I was going to say it on the podcast because I'm a very private person. I don't like having like everybody know my business.
Then don't start a fucking podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Some people
But
like your parents' phone number.
Chris wants to start a... Oh, yeah, my bad.
That's all good.
My bad, dude.
no, but one thing that's also important for me is because I do have people that are very, very close to me, and we do have this conversation, and they care a lot about me. You guys being some of them.
Yeah.
I one of the reasons I didn't want to bring it up is because I was thinking more for them, in the sense that because they care so much about me, I didn't want to surprise them with, oh shit, I didn't know you were feeling that way. And then it rolls back to what you were saying, like maybe I could have hung out with him more, maybe I could have done this and this more. Whereas for me, in the mental state that I am in now, in general and stuff like that, that's not necessary.
Yeah, well, but you're clarifying it. That's important.
Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying, because I really do have people that I talk to, and if I ever get to that point, that's what I do. I just reach out to them and talk about, hey man, how's it going? I might even talk about the topic.
Yeah.
But just talking to them and like switching that mindset, it already helps me to get out of that dark spot.
But when you had those thoughts or entertained those thoughts, did you talk to anyone about it? Anyone at all?
No.
Why not?
So
don't be like Chris. If you have
don't be like me. No,
learn from his mistakes.
I'm a dumbass. Okay, I am stupid.
Could that have been maybe because the thoughts weren't so severe? It wasn't. Were you not that deep in the hole that you thought I can get through this without having to talk to someone, or was it just like a miscalculation?
Yeah, it is for me. It's more I can get through this. I got through this without having to alert anyone. Okay. Because that's also one of the things that went through my mind, is that okay, if I tell someone about it, they're going to tell other people, and everyone's going to be on high alert. And then for me at that point, it didn't feel like that would be necessary.
So to me,
and that turns back to the whole being a burden on the people around you.
Wait, you got a dog or a cow, bro?
Man, I know, right?
But to me, then it sounds like you didn't want to tell people because you didn't want to bother them, or you wanted to be about it.
Yeah, no, but exactly.
Sounds like a slippery slope.
No, but that's why I revert to back. A lot of times, it's not about being a. Yeah, it is that I just didn't want. I didn't want to feel like a burden to people around, and by that I mean the issue that I had at that moment didn't feel like it was severe enough to come to people with. So if it was something bigger that I was like, okay, this is getting really, really close, I need to talk to someone. Yes, I will.
I think even then, and I think that's maybe the lesson that should be learned. Even then, it's still a gamble. You're still rolling the dice, and you're assuming.
True, most definitely.
That you need to talk about, because it could it's very easily have been like, oh, I can handle this, and then before you know it, before you get a chance to pick up the phone, you're already there.
Yeah.
So men, everyone out there, men and women, if you're in a situation and you are entertaining those thoughts are in your head, don't roll the dice on it. Just in case, just to be sure, talk about it.
Yeah, most definitely.
Find whatever help you need. There's so many ways to get help. There's apps nowadays. There's websites. There's people you can talk to. There's a neighbor.
And more often than not, one thing that helps me a lot is to talk to people.
Just talk.
Or at least find out person that you're able to open up about. That really does help. For me, anyway.
Don't suffer in silence.
For no reason.
Don't assume that dark thoughts are able to be handled alone or should be handled alone. Just don't roll that dice. It's not necessary. There's people around you like
they're willing to help. That would love to help.
Even if you think there's barely a chance that this is going to escalate into anything, man, fucking talk about it.
Yeah.
Because in an ideal world, no one ever has to have the thought to wonder if they should end their own life.
True.
In a picture perfect situation.
Yeah, but even then, like, one of the things that I thought is not just that. It's like, okay, so if I do, how would that affect the people around me? Because that's also the thing that I think about. Like, how would it affect you? How would it affect mom? How would it affect my friends around me?
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
You know, one thing before we round this off is that I realized when talking about this is it's growing up on the islands, in geval, suicide wasn't very, very common. Not for me, not in my social circles and everything.
Not that I know of.
But what I do remember is that in the media and on TV, it was always taken so lightly. I mean, there's a whole episode on Friends where that dude from Seinfeld like wants to kill himself.
Oh,
and then Phoebe has to go and convince him not to.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, looking back at it now, it was made very, very light of it.
Yeah.
It was taken as like a whatever thing.
Yeah.
And the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey, like fucking singing, I wish you would step back from that ledge, my friend.
Yeah.
Even that, like, think about it now. That's probably not the best way to build an awareness or a healthy conscience when it comes to suicide and other people's struggles, because it's just made of like, he wants to kill himself, let's just sing a song for him and we're good.
Yeah.
Maybe something to think about.
And before we end this, I do want to add, I am not suicidal. Okay,
Jesus,
I'm perfectly fine. Okay,
I think you made it really clear.
Yeah,
I don't think we have to. Anyone has to be on high alert now.
Because that was also one of the other things. I'm like, okay, if I tell everyone everything, if I tell people everything's going to change, and probably not for the better.
That's the consequence of being open.
Yeah.
But it is an important step to take. Then it's brave to do so. You've most likely made it easier now for someone else to also have the conversation, or just say,
admit it.
I'm also not suicidal, but I have also had those thoughts.
Yeah,
and that's the thing for me as well.
Let's clap it up for Chris.
No, but all just aside, for me as well, if I can connect with a person that's going through something like that and get through it, man, it not just helps them, but it also helps me.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of happiness to be found in helping someone.
Yeah.
And I just want everyone around me to be happy. Like it's a naive, fucking childish thing to say, but I just want all my people to be happy. I want everyone to feel good. I want everyone to feel like they can fulfill some kind of purpose, and they can feel some love and get some smooches, and hey, that's all I want, dude. It's been like very little else matters besides everyone in my environment just like fucking feeling good.
Yeah, and thriving.
And it comes back to having a healthy relationship with bad thoughts, with emotions, and letting yourself feel what you got to feel.
Yep.
All those things included. I just want folks to be happy.
Yep.
Seems like a fair thing to want.
Hey man, life's too sad to not be happy, man.
What the fuck does that mean? Life is too sad
to not be happy.
Okay, we're gonna end the episode right now before Chris.
Think about it.
No,
think about it.
No, don't think about it. Think about the other stuff we said. The other stuff we said that was good shit. What Chris just said is that's a brain.
To not be happy.
Oh, to not be happy.
Yeah, life's too sad to not be happy.
Life is too sad
to not be happy.
Hey, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
That one's a thinker. That one's a thinker.
Hey, but before one last time before we sound off again, if you're someone who's struggling with suicidal thoughts or tendencies, Do not suffer alone. In Holland, you can contact 113 or 0800 0113 or 088 07 67 000. Those are all the different places you can call and get immediate help and get a counselor, get someone to help you out. If you're not that far into it yet, still ask for help. Talk to your boys. Talk to your doctor. Talk to your fucking family. Talk to your dog.
No.
Like, just get it out there. Seek help.
Yo, no joke.
Fucking talk to us.
Talk to us.
No joke. My dog back on Curacao. Same dude. Love that dog, dude. Yeah.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe and join us on this journey. Interact with us. Tell us questions. What you think we should talk about. What are topics that you think are important? You know, we like to talk about manhood, about food, about mental health, about all things it is to have and live a great life. Share your thoughts with us, and keep the peace.
Keep the peace.
Peace.